Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to fully surrender and trust in God? It's a question we grapple with daily, isn't it? We're often caught in this tug-of-war between wanting to let go and yet holding on tight. Our human nature seems to be hardwired for control. We love to predict what's coming next, to prepare for it, to feel that we have some semblance of control over our lives. This instinct to avoid uncertainty, to resist the unexpected, it's a common struggle, it's a part of being human. But here's a thought to ponder. What if surrendering to God isn't about losing control? What if it's about stepping onto a more profound, more fulfilling path? What if it's about releasing the burden of always trying to steer the ship and allowing the most skilled navigator to take the helm? But what if surrendering to God isn't about giving up control, but about stepping into a more profound and fulfilling path? Let's consider the story of Abraham, a man who epitomized surrender and trust in God. Abraham, hailing from the ancient city of Ur, hears a divine call. God invites him to leave his homeland and journey to an unknown destination, promising him descendants as numerous as the stars. Abraham, in a display of profound trust, embarks on this journey, surrendering his familiar surroundings, his comfort, his security. Now imagine the patience and perseverance Abraham must have nurtured. God's promise of a child seemed impossible considering his and his wife Sarah's advanced age. But Abraham held on to God's promise, trusting in his perfect timing. Then, against all odds, Sarah bore a son, Isaac, making Abraham a father, a joyous moment that affirmed his steadfast faith and trust. But the story doesn't end here. The ultimate test of Abraham's surrender to God comes when he is asked to sacrifice this promised child, Isaac. Imagine the turmoil, the heartache of a father asked to give up his beloved son. Yet Abraham was willing to surrender his most precious gift, an act that signifies his complete and absolute trust in God. This act of surrender wasn't met with loss, but with divine intervention. As Abraham raised his hand to sacrifice Isaac, an angel of the Lord stopped him. God provided a ram as a substitute for Isaac, a clear demonstration that he never forsakes those who trust in him. So Abraham, this man of humble origins, became the father of nations, a testament to his trust and surrender to God. His story is a beacon of faith that shines across centuries, illuminating the path for all who seek to trust in God. Abraham's story teaches us that surrendering to God can open doors to blessings beyond our imagination. His life serves as a reminder that when we surrender our fears, our doubts, our comforts to God, we make room for His divine plan to unfold in our lives, leading us to blessings we could never envision on our own. Paradox of surrender is that by giving up control, we gain more than we could ever achieve on our own. This statement might seem like a contradiction, but let's delve deeper into its profound truth. When we talk about surrendering to God, it's important to understand that this doesn't mean becoming passive or inactive. Far from it. It's about actively choosing to trust in God's wisdom and love for us. It's about acknowledging that we, as finite beings, can't possibly comprehend the grandeur of God's plans. It's about accepting that our limited perspective might not always provide us with the full picture. Consider the story of a man named John, who was a successful entrepreneur. Despite his wealth and success, he felt an emptiness within. Over time, he realized that he was trying to control everything in his life, leaving no room for God. So he made a conscious decision to surrender, to trust in God's wisdom. He didn't quit his job or stop making decisions. Instead, he started to consult God in his decisions, to trust in God's guidance. And he found a peace that he had never experienced before, a sense of fulfillment that his wealth could never provide. Or take the example of Sarah, a woman who struggled with fear and anxiety for years. When she surrendered her fears to God, choosing to trust His love and protection, she found a new strength within herself. Her fear didn't disappear overnight, but she was no longer controlled by it. She was now grounded in the unshakable trust in God's love for her. These examples remind us that surrendering to God is not about giving up or being passive. It's about actively making a choice, a decision to trust His plans over our own. It's about understanding that God's wisdom and love for us are far greater than anything we can comprehend. And when we make that choice, we open ourselves to a peace and fulfillment that surpass our understanding. Surrendering to God is an active choice, a decision to trust His plans over our own. And in this paradoxical surrender, we gain much more than we could ever achieve on our own. In uncertain times, like the ones we live in today, trusting in God can feel like a daunting task. But let's remember, trust is not a grand, one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's a journey that begins with tiny steps. It starts with surrendering the small worries and fears that creep into our minds. The anxiety about tomorrow, the uncertainty about the future, the doubt about our abilities, these are all opportunities to trust God. By surrendering these to Him, we are saying, "I trust you, God. I know you have a plan for me." As we continue to surrender our worries and fears, we find ourselves expanding our trust. We start seeing His hand in our lives more clearly and feel His love more deeply. And this, my friends, is the beauty of trusting God. It strengthens us, uplifts us, and brings us peace. Every day presents a new opportunity to surrender and trust in God. In summary, surrendering and trusting in God is not about losing control, but about gaining a richer, more fulfilling life. We've explored the struggle of surrender, understanding how daunting it can feel to let go of our perceived control. We've journeyed through the story of Abraham, a powerful testament of faith and surrender that still resonates today. We've delved into the paradox of surrender, recognizing that in seemingly losing ourselves, we truly find our purpose and peace. And we've discussed the practice of daily trust, acknowledging that trusting in God, especially in uncertain times, provides a firm foundation for our lives. Today, I encourage you to take one small step towards surrendering and trusting God. Whether it's a whispered prayer, a quiet moment of reflection, or a conscious act of faith, let this be your start. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Thanks for tuning in to the worship experience. Until next time, stay blessed and keep praying.